Hello everyone. So I think it's time, right? So my name is Nijue, and today I'm going to introduce we have a server CCR, and also how to use some techniques and to make it more productive in this environment. So how many of you already used CCR before? And how many of you that are familiar with the Linux system? Okay, so I'm gonna start with some basics, and later we gonna see some different techniques. So first, I'm gonna start with introduction to what is CCR, what is Linux server, some motivations. So what is a CCR? So it stands for the Center for Computational Research. But usually when we say CCR, it just means the background, there's a supercomputer that we call them CCR, all right? So it's a supercomputer that provided by our university. That means that you can run like your job is there. And it is also a server with Center OS Linux. It is a Linux system-based server. So why we want to use CCR? The first thing is, of course, the computation power is very powerful. For example, if you're solving some problem from the integer programming, it will be NP hard, very difficult. I remember in a class, there's a problem assigned by Dr. Oteros. I remember I ran like 2 hours or 3 hours. So if you use this CCR, it probably can solve the problem maybe half an hour like that. So this is one big reason we want to use this resource. And the second one is it has a consistent environment. That means there's a bunch of people like do the regular maintenance for the whole system. So the third one is very easy to access. So as long as you have internet and you can connect to the UB network through the VPN, then you can use this this CCR system. So let's look at this list of the most popular server OS in 2008. And except the first one, all the rest are based on Linux server. So this is actually Linux server is not just restricted to CCR. Actually, if you go a lot of different places, if they use server, then probably they are use some kind of Linux system there. And the Linux actually is more versatile than that. You can find Linux system on a lot of different devices. And companies, there's a lot of big names there like Google, Twitter, Facebook, Amazon. Part of them system are based on Linux. And also, there's a big range of devices like Android and the famous Raspberry Pi. And there's missiles, weapons, cars, and also like the air traffic control system. They are based on Linux system. So it's a very versatile system. And also the users like hackers, it's always the first choice for the hackers use Linux. That's maybe partially the reason that Linux is pretty safe because they don't attack their home, right? So since this is a very versatile system, so everything actually we learn in this workshop can directly use or easily apply to those different kinds of systems later. But in this workshop, we more focus on the CCR part. So we will learn some apps that you can use in CCR. But there's a lot of range apps that actually can use if you have your own Linux system. So let's back to see how can we connect to a server such as the CCR we have here. So at the left-hand side is your computer. It's usually we call it client. It's a small computer, maybe your home computer. And the right-hand side is the supercomputer, very large. We call it server, but it's not necessary to be a super. You can make your home computer also has a server too. And there's several ways to connect from your own computer to the server. One of the way is called SSH. It will provide you a text console interface. That means once you connect, use SSH, connect to that supercomputer, it will give you a text console, and we will see that later. There's another way called VNC. It will give you a graphical interface, but this one will not provided by our CCR because usually server will not give you the graphic interface. So what are these things? Basically, it's just like a portal that can make your computer as the screen of the supercomputer. So if you connect bus SSH or BNC, basically everything you see on your screen is in the supercomputer. So when we talk about supercomputer, the first thing you would come up with is like this, right? It's supercomputer, so it should be like fancy applications. You can run games, play different things. But when really the first time you connect it to the server, what you see is like something like that. It's a little bit sad, right? It should be a supercomputer. But what's the reason of that, right? So we'll go through a little bit of knowledge about why that happens. So first, for any computer, you have hardwares, you have CPU, memory devices, and above that, you have a bunch of softwares. And the most important thing is called system kernel. And this is part of the Linux system. And it can have different drivers and low-level languages help you to manipulate or control different devices. And above of that is all different kinds of applications. And if we go deep, the first layer in the applications is different kind of consoles, like bash, bash. It's just like the picture you saw before. It's just a single command line, all right? Above that, there's this part actually is something everyone very familiar with. We call them X sessions. In Linux, the name is X sessions, but it's just different kind of desktops. You can think of it like that. So this case is most of people familiar with. And on the other hand, you have a lot of console apps. So from the console, you can either start an X session, going to the familiar place, like the different kind of desktops, and you can also start console apps. So this actually is something that we are not very familiar with for most users. And we can see, like the picture you imagine actually is in this place. This is some place that we are very familiar with. Most user lives in that place. And also, if you use VNC, the thing I said before, if you use VNC, then probably you can see the server in that shape. You can see there have a desktop. All right, and like Windows and Mac OS, they have their own unique extension. It's just their desktop, so we have no choice of that. But for the Linux, for all the distributions, actually you can choose your desktop. You can even have multiple different desktop at the same time. You can choose from them. And these are some famous desktops for Linux. If you want to start to use Linux, you can choose from them. And the good thing about an X session or desktop is that it's very intuitive. You just use mouse, and it's very easy to learn. But there's also some bad sides. Relatively speaking, it's pretty heavy memory. It has heavy memory consumption because a lot of pictures and views. And also, for the users, it's not so efficient. And that is part of the reason why the coders, hackers want to use the console. On the other hand, when you connect the server with the SSH, then actually this case you're going into, right? So you just have the small screen here. So this case actually, compared to that one, it's not so intuitive because basically everything is command line and it's not so user-friendly. And you have a very steep learning curve. You need to remember a lot of commands there, and you need to get some time to use to how to do things. And also, but the good side is it has very low memory consumption. That means if you use SSH, it will consume very low bandwidth. So usually it will be very fast when you use SSH. And it will be very efficient once you know how to use this environment. All right, so the whole goal of this workshop is learn tricks and different apps to become a pro in this area. So get out of your comfort zone and go to there, just become pro here. So this is like the whole purpose of this workshop. So here's a like example. Before start this, maybe you will be very don't know how to do with this login screen, right? But after this workshop, there's several sessions. After several sessions, maybe you are already very good at it. You can have this as screen that you can have after doing all those stuffs. And in this part, you have a coding IDE. You can see you can browse different files here. You can edit several files at the same time. It's just like IDE you have. And this part is a debug place, right? You can code up there and debugging in the lower place. And on the other side, you have a file manager. So it's just like normal file manager. You can browse your files, edit your files there. And this is a job monitor. So all the jobs you run in CCR, you can use this to see their status. And also there's a resource monitors. So this is a real screenshot from the CCR. So basically, if after the workshop, I hope that everyone can work there very productively. Okay. So let's start. So the whole workshop will have two parts. The first part is the basics, the basic command line and some logic behind that. And after that, how to run jobs in CCR. So it's the basic part. So after this part 2 and 3, you will know how to connect to CCR. You will know how to use basic command line to finish all the jobs you need. But at that time, it will not be very efficient. It will still one screen, and you need to do a lot of steps. And the second part of this workshop, including different apps, and it will really those apps will help you to become more productive and become pro in that environment. So we start with local console environment. I think at this time, someone use Windows can download this app. So if you're using Windows, then probably you want to download that. And if you're using Linux, you just open terminal. If you're using Mac, you can open terminal also and run command bash. So after that, we are all in the same environment. It's called a bash environment. It's just like the lowest console environment talked before. So I want to mention something here is for the Windows user, actually you can use one thing called PuTTY. So PuTTY is something you can directly connect it to a server, but it will not provide you a local Linux environment. Yes. So if you use Windows,
the Windows user should use the
MS2, I think. Yes. And also for the Mac users, right now I'm thinking that but for some of them are installing something, I'm going to the next slide. So for all the Linux, there's a very fast way to install those apps called package manager. So also for the Mac OS, you can install a package manager called Homebrew. If you go online, search the Homebrew, you'll find that. So this is a very convenient way to install and manage your different packages and apps there. Of course, to install those apps and remove or edit those apps, you need the root privilege. So this means you cannot do this trick in the CCR, but you can do this trick in your own computer. So these are the command lines. If you are using Linux, different Linux, like the Windows user, if you use MSys2, then these are all command lines that you can to install, remove, update, or update all, all the basic commands for that. And Mac OS, if you have Homebrew, then you can use those commands to install different apps. So everyone got this?
I have a question. So to work in CCR, do we need all these packages?
No, you don't need to install any packages. Right now, yes. It's just like the package manager. If later we want to use some app, you can use that. Yes. So everyone got are we all in the same environment? Are we all in bash environment? Bash, right? So the first practice is we can try to remove nano on your local Linux and then install nano on your local Linux. And what is nano? I will introduce this thing later. But if you want and you have the environment, you can try this right now. Okay, so basically, like what I'm gonna do is open a terminal, right? So because mine is Arch, so let's look at this. For me, what I'm using is Arch here. So if I want to install something or remove something, I use those two command lines, right?
Okay.
So what I'm gonna do is, if I do this practice, I want to remove nano, I will say sudo pacman nano.
You want to explain sudo?
Yeah, sudo is like give you the administrator privilege so that you can do everything on your computer. Yes, but because in CCR you don't have that. You don't have that right. You don't have that permission. So we're not gonna go deep into that. But basically, if you run a command, if it does not work, it says that you don't have that permission. What you wanna do is you add sudo before that command. All right. So if I type this command there, it will say if you really do you really want to remove that? Yes. So in that case, I just removed one app in my computer. If I want to install app, it's the same thing. So I can use what is that? Nano. Just type the name. And I have nano right now. Yeah. So basically, it's just command line.
For this, I need homebrew word, right?
What?
I need homebrew package.
Yeah, you need to download this thing. You need to download the homebrew. Yes. Mm-hmm.
For Windows, I just downloaded that.
You installed the MC2, right?
Yes, and then what is this?
Yes. So if you are using the Windows, you install the MS2, then MC2, then you just, if you want to remove something, you just use this. You type pacman and -R, big R, and PKG is the name of that package. So in this case, it should be nano. Yes. So have some practice, and we're gonna go to the next slide. And if you have any question, you can ask me about that. Okay. Sorry. The name is MC2. So MC2. You need to download this. You download that one. Okay. So you want to try this. So you are MC2. So you want to try this. The only difference is it's big S instead of big R. So you have the same thing, you change the
He hasn't connected to CCR. So when I remove nano such things, like as it's
Yeah,
so I install it.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't actually need to do that. Windows and Mac have built interfaces like graphical interfaces and like that. You can do it all from inside of a terminal. And so this is how you do that from inside of a terminal. And so like Nano, for example, is just a text editor. And so it's just like from without having to go to an app store, just from inside a terminal, you can install or then delete this application. Yeah. So it's just showing how to do that.
Do we all have the nano? Because later we're gonna use this thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's like the previous one is the first command line you input for some of you, I think. So right now, this is the command line to connect with SSH. But right now, not to do this right now because I want to explain what is a command line first. All right. So this is a convention that is every $sign after $sign what you have is the whole command you want to input. But you do not input this thing. All right. So after that, the first thing is always the name of a command, right? And after that, what you have is the parameters for that command. It's just like a function you wrote in your code. So it's the function name. This is like the first parameter. If you have several parameters, you will separate them by space, of course. So in this case, the name of the command is SSH, and the first parameter is the address of the server. So it is like username at server address. Okay.
Did they change it from Rush to Vortex?
Yeah, they changed Rush to Vortex. It took me two days to realize.
Yeah, I was just gonna say because I was
yes. So basically, this is like a command line, all right? And if you have the connection, I think you can try this command right now, but just change this to your username. And you can see after that, you are really connected to the supercomputer. Yeah. So you can type this and try what you're gonna get after that. Oh, you don't have SSH, so you just use the package brand. Use package. You need to install a package, right? So you put this package and it has the name of the package SSH. So you install that. And it's open. And download that so you can use that So I found someone that when they type SSH, they say this command doesn't exist. In that case, it means in your computer, you need to install this package. All right, so just use what we used before. So it's pacman -s, and in this case, what you input is open SSH. So the package name for SSH is open SSH. Open SSH. Yes. So if you don't have the SSH right now, then you can install that by this command line. No, there's no space.
SSH is secure shell, so it's a way to like over an internet connection, your computer send a message over Wi-Fi to whatever computer you say. So that's actually Vortex and CCR is like an interface for this computer. So your computer sending a message saying I would like to access this computer from my computer, and then you do it through your terminal. So SSH is the command that says I want to access this computer. That's right. Yes.
If I were to be the same,
Yes. I will explain later. This is a project here, and you just yes. Yes, just yes.
There is an interface. Yeah, he's showing you how to do it. An unknown password. I think you should have some password. There's it's your UBIT password. It's your UBIT password.
It doesn't work.
You don't have an account. You're not allowed. Yeah. So yeah, you can't just get on system.
It doesn't matter. I think what you can do is you can go to their UBIT and ask for that.
No, but I probably also won't use this because I'm actually
To have an account, you will have to be sponsored by a professor on our project. So if you just ask your advisor to,
so I have to start this.
yeah, so you won't be able to get it. You guys can follow on with me.
So I think most of us already finished this step, right? So I know some of you already connect to that, but you don't know the password. But what I think is the password is different from your UBIT password. So what you should do is maybe go to there's a CCR website, and I think there's a place you can reset your password, things like that. All right. But it doesn't matter if you don't connect to this server. Everything we learn later today, you can always try them on your local Linux environment like that. So right now you can directly input this command line to connect to that to the CCR server. But if you are at home, that means you are not in the network, the UB network. You need to do this first. You need to connect it to VPN first. I think everyone knows that. If you don't, then this is a website and you can go there. There have all the steps. All right. So since we already connected to the server, if you are not, it doesn't matter because for your own Linux environment you just installed, you have the similar environment, so you can try all the tricks later on your own Linux environment. So since we connected to a server, the first thing we want to do is how to explore the structure of the folders, right? So before introduce any commands, first thing is a short introduction to the whole structure of the Linux directory. So this one is the root of the Linux system. So every folder is under this thing. So this is like the root, all right? So after that, there's a very important folders you will have just one layer after the root. And there's others, I will introduce the most important ones. The first one is called bin. It represents binaries. So in this is all those essential user binaries. It just means all those applications. Most of the applications you can find here, all right? So the second folder is called boot. So it is all the files in your system that help you to boot the computer. So basically, it means that don't mess up with this folder. Don't go into that, don't remove anything unless you are pro in Linux. All right? So the third one, it represents global config files. Basically, in most cases, you are not really need to go into that to do something. And for here is user shared libraries. So if you install some new applications, some of the libraries will be installed here. So in most cases, you're not really using anything here. And for the root, so I said before, there's a command about the sudo, right? The sudo means it will temporarily give you the root privilege. So root is like the super user of the whole computer. They have all the permissions to do any kind of stuff in all those folders. But for normal users, this is your home. So this is home, and in this folder, you have different users. For example, if my username is Ninji, then this will be Ninji. All right. So if you have multiple users, each one will have a folder here. So suppose that currently the user of this computer is user 2. Then there's a short name for this path. So this path is /home/user2. That is the user2's home, right? There's a short name for that. It's just the tilde of type, tilde here. So this just equivalent to this thing. So it's a short name for your home. All right. And this case, you always have all the permissions to do anything you want. Like you can add new files, you can remove them. So in this folder, if you are user2, then you have all the permissions to do anything you want. All right. Except this one, for other folders, only root have their permissions. So basically, this is structure. And before we go into those commands, there's several things I want to introduce. The first thing is how to specify a path. The first way is absolute path. So that means you use a string from the root, like this one is bin SSH. That means you from here, from root go to bin, then you find that file. And home user one then also. So this method is called absolute path. The other method is called relative path. It's starting with a dot. So this means current folder. So for example, if currently you are in here, and in your command line you type current folder, it basically means the current folder. So this means parent folder if you have two dots. So you can combine them together to have different meanings. Like in this case, you have current folder, the folder of project, and the parent folder of the project. Basically, it's current folder. Right? And also, there's a hidden files. How to create a hidden files or to look at them. Basically, you just add a dot sign, small dot sign, in front of the file name. So it's different. This one, the dot signs before the folder, right? It means the relative path. But in here, you have a dot sign for the file name. So it will become, the file will become hidden to you. So you need to use some special command to show them. So basically, these are all some configuration files. So, and also you can put some secret there. Now we have all the structures of the Linux system. And there's some command help us to explore, go to different folders and list all the items under a folder. So before going to that, we see what is command. So this is like a common form of a command. As I said before, you have a command name, and for after the command name, you have several parameters. So the first thing, the command is nothing special. It's just a file in somewhere. All right, and those uppercase here is also a convention. That means this is something you need to replace later with the true command you want to use or true parameters you want to use. So the first command we're going to learn is how to change your directory. All right, so cd represent change directory, and path is someplace you want to go. So change path is going to that path. So the path can be a relative path or absolute path. So there's an example. So for example, so everyone knows where is the folder I am in right now based on this thing. Can you tell where? What?
You're in the tilde, so it's in the bin.
Yeah. This is the tilde, right? It means I'm in my own home, right? So, for example, if I want to go to my parent folder, what I'm want to do is cd dot dash, right? Dot slash. That means my parent folder. So right now it changed to the home, right? So remember the structure before. If you are user, then the parent folder should be the home. If I go one more step, you can see this thing slash. It means you are at the highest level of your in the structure of your directories. So also you can use the absolute path. Like I want to go to home. So now I'm going to my home. So basically, this is the first thing you want to learn that helps you to go to different folders. Just like when you are using Windows, you will open a manager, right? The file manager, and you see a lot of small folders. You click them, you open them, but in here you just use those command lines, change directory. So the second command is list. So ls means list. So ls with path, it will list everything under that folder. So ls path, it will list all non-hidden files. Remember the hidden files we mentioned before, right? If you add -a, it's like a different parameter. So if ls -a, it will list all the files in that path, including all those hidden files. If ls -l, so it will list files in path with more information. And you can try all those commands later, it doesn't matter. So what if you want to see all those hidden files as well as in full information mode, then you can combine A and L together. So basically, these are also very useful. Basically, every time you want to use it, you want to see what kind of files and folders are in current folder. And one more command before we start practicing is the echo. Echo means just print something. So if you have a string here, it will print that string. If you have a variable here, it will print that variable. So there's some tricks because it seems like you're using these things very difficult because you need to type the whole name there, right? But there's some tricks for you. So the first is called autocomplete. So for example, I want to go to my downloads, right? I only need to type one thing, D, and I use tab. Okay, done. It can autocomplete for me, right? So you don't have to type everything. You just type several characters and use tab. It can help you to complete the full name. And the other trick is that sometimes if you click the tab, it doesn't see anything. Then you tap twice. It will show all the candidates for that. So, for example, I type the uppercase D, so it will not help me to choose which of them, but it will show there are 3 candidates, then you can type the rest of that. Then it can help you to complete the full name. Okay. So this is the first trick we have today. And the second trick is that this means control A and control E. So if you have a very long command, like what I have here, so for example, these are very long command, but you want to change something in the front. There's a very fast way to do that. You just use Control A. You can directly go to the head of that line. If you use Control E, you just go to the end of that line. If you press Control and with arrows, it will go faster than just left, right. So it's just all the small tricks that help you to go over all the folders faster.
Okay, question.
Mm-hmm.
How can we find out that which folder we have requested?
Oh, you can first use ls list, right? You can list what kind of folders you have. If you have nothing, so you can create some folders first. Yes, but I always do. So these are all the tricks. And also, if you want to run some previous commands, you just use up or down. You can choose previous commands, like what I have here. Like I want to choose previous command. If I use the upper arrow, it will show previous different commands I already used. And so it's a pretty fast way to do some commands you already used before. Now we have some practice. The first thing is trying to find the path of SSH. I think everyone already have the SSH. So use the change directory and list and echo, trying to find where is the path of SSH. The second one is try to show that those two are exactly really the same thing. You can just, or you can do other things, use those plans and those tricks. Just get used to all those plans.
Professor Walrus is asking me to zoom in. Professor Walrus is asking me to zoom in.
Zoom in?
I don't know why he said that. I just wanted to tell you.
I don't know. You want to zoom in the, oh, this thing?
Yes.
It's too small?
So Dr. Walters is live
On Facebook, yeah.
on Facebook. We have live a stream on Facebook and asking you to zoom in. Because you can record that TV.
How to?
You make it bigger.
Yeah, maybe use
Yeah,
that.
use that
Or
one.
okay. So is there anyone figure out this thing? Okay, so let's do some practice. So the first thing you need to knowledge before, right? Remember what is SSH? What is that? It is a command. That means it is a binary, right? It is a binary file. So probably we can find it in the bin. So we can list bin binary and S. There's too many, but I can SSH. So I can see from this, I type bin SS and I double tap it, right? So it shows that there is a SSH. So indeed, the SS file is a application that installed here. So the second practice is also use some command we learned is echo, right? If you want to show what is, if you want to print something, you just use echo. So you can echo tilde, and what you will get is the home tildes, right? So this says that basically those are the same thing. It's just a shorthand for your home. So the starting part of Linux is also very tough because you need to remember all those commands, but there's some tips later for you how to remember those commands. All right. So after the first set of practice, there's a second set. So first set, we just learned 3 commands, right? How to change your directory, how to list the elements, how to show some strings, and some tips how to type those commands faster. So the second one is what you want to do last, right? You already can go to different folders. So what do you want to do last if you want to run some jobs in CCR? What's the second thing you want to do? After you know how to jump between different folders, what's the next thing? To what?
Select the file.
Yeah, to create folders, create files, remove them, update them, right? So how to create a file? You use touch, right? Touch, file name, then you create that file. So how to create a folder? Make directory, mkdir, and the folder name, you can create a folder. It's all commands. How to remove a file? You just remove the file. rm is a command that helps you to remove that file. And also, how to remove a folder? You still use same rm, but with -r. That means you want to remove the folder. And after that is how to move different things, move one file to the other, then you just mv. So these commands actually, they are pretty intuitive because the name is very close to the meaning, right? So mv means move file 1, file 2, move the file 1 to file 2. Right?
So like file 1, file 2, name of the file.
Yeah, the name of the file, also you can put the whole path of that file. And how to copy them. Cp is copy file 1 to file 2. And for the move and copy, you can do them for the whole folder. So in that case, you need to add -r, right? I want to move or copy, -r means the whole folder to the second folder. So you can do this, with this command, you can copy, paste the entire folder. So there's a question for you how to rename. So how can you rename? It's also a very common operation you want to do. How to rename a file? How to rename a folder? You just move, right? You just move the file to the same whole folder, but just with a different name. So this is the rename. How you rename this? So I think at this time we already learned a lot of commands. So it's a good way to practice. I think maybe we just practice first, then learn some tricks, how to do batch stuff, a lot of things together. But we can practice. So don't look at this thing. First, you wanna try this, create some folders, and create some files. Just to do the first and second step, and try them on your own computer. Trying something, making some folders, making some files. Any questions? So what we do is just two things: create a folder, track 1, track 2, and create several files: pass1, pass1, pass2, pass3, and a info. Right? They have different. I don't know.
I'm sorry. Okay, how we can see the file? Because
LS.
when I use LS, just the folder of the file.
These are files. So yeah, the blue one means folder. The white one means files.
Can you go back to the
Yeah. So remember, we do two things. All right. So create folder, create file, and these are all the commands you can utilize here.
I think it's better you write on the whiteboard, like, so we can see the task as well as the commands. Like write the function. I will write it.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
So when to use the folder?
Yes. Because you don't have to. Yes. So when you actually use those are all.
Okay, so this is not accessing my document folder in the users of the application.
Yeah, because it's a different case. Or you can change it right to CD. And find the where's the path of that way.
Generally, when I'm not in CCR, then yeah, so when I'm in CCR, so suppose I want to access something on my computer, then I have to go up to CCR.
Yes. Because I got that. It's okay. Like this one is just it's not a screen.
Yeah, I know, but it has no way to.
There's ways, but this is something in the next session. Next session. Yes. There's a very fast way.
Yes, so technically right now you're making these on a computer that's like, you can't access these, they're not physically stored, they're physically stored on a computer.
That's why when we just got there were numbers.
Right, the whole reason he's showing you how to do this is because on your computer, you can just click on the
these are all
file directory
files.
and see the file and like double click
Yes,
your mouse. But when you connect to the supercomputer, you don't get that graphical interface, so the only way you can see is through those files.
So
These there, so for example, you want to create a folder with an arrow and then a file.
So here is where you can create.
yeah, there's a place that you have all the
File folder.
How do I exit CCR?
you just access.
So now you made a file, but it was empty. So now you're actually going to start working on this. So if you were already like, this is a test, now you've heard of
So,
We can go to the text one.
Save it.
okay.
And now if you do that again.
Does everyone create your folders and files already?
He's gonna show.
So like today is all the basics, and I think next session will also some basics and also how to run things in CCR. But after that, we have some advanced techniques. After that, the third sessions.
Awesome. I think that's all we have time for.
Okay, so practice something about those things at home, and we will start from these slides next time.
Will we have access to this presentation?
Yes. I will like upload this somewhere, and do you have all their emails?
Yeah, how about before everyone leaves today, I'll get a piece of paper, and if you want, you can write your emails down, and then we'll put these in a Box account, and we'll give everybody access.
Good.
Or is it okay if it's just shared on the?
What's Steve?
Like then you're emailing the slides out to people who didn't even show up.
Oh.
We'll just we'll put them in a Box account.